So if you are thinking about buying an Amazon FBA business, this is the video for you. Dave worked at Thrasio for many years, and he is going to tell you the top three most common, costly mistakes. And then he's also going to tell some real life examples of acquisitions that he was a part of at Thrasio. So by the end of this video, you're going to have a lot more confidence and about the purchase of a business that you're potentially looking at purchasing, and potentially avoid the costly mistakes that can cost you hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars if you do not pay attention to these things. So Dave, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Riley. Yeah, so the first and kind of most common costly mistake with going into an acquisition of an Amazon business is not fully understanding the niche and your product's competitive moat. And I saw this quite a few times where we were only looking at an acquisition from like a simple real estate perspective. And so when you're buying an Amazon business and you see, okay, our main keyword is, for example, plantar fasciitis socks. And you say, okay, this keyword has a certain amount of search volume. We are buying a listing that ranks on page one right now and gets X amount of the market share. And so it's essentially like buying an asset. Now, it's not as simple as that for sure. It is more nuanced because new competitors come in and brands become more profitable. Amazon changes the fee structure. It's not exactly like just buying a house on the block in the nicest neighborhood in town, right? Because the entire market can shift when one competitor enters the market. So one of the most common things is not really understanding that competitive landscape. And say you buy this listing, you don't know how it could depreciate. And one of the main risks is buying a product where there is no differentiation point from the competitors, kind of like a Me Too product where it has no extra benefit and no extra competitive moat. Oftentimes, people will buy a listing thinking it's super safe. Oh, it has 10,000 reviews. It has all these subscribers. It has the number one rank. However, what is preventing someone or a Chinese competitor with better costs to come in and undercut you? And I see it happen all the time. So one thing to be cautious of whenever you're acquiring a product is, what is that competitive moat? And if you're buying something that is simply standard stock, there's nothing different about it, just know that if competitors come in at a lower price, that's going to affect your overall market share. It's going to affect your conversion rate. And it's going to kind of force you into a position where you're racing to the bottom. So that's kind of my first thought on the main thing to look out for, right? Is those Me Too products.
Yep. So to recap, I would say, make sure the product actually has a USP, a unique differentiator. It's not some copycat private label piece of shit that anyone could very easily copy. Everything can be copied, obviously. The iPhone is copied, the AirPods are copied. But make sure it's not just a very easy to copy private label product. And it's got some differentiator. And the reason that they're successful is not just they're the cheapest one. That's bad. Have something that's successful because it's the cheapest one, because it's just a price race to the bottom. So
yeah, cool. And Amazon is a margin war. It seems like every year there's something new that gets added that makes the P&L a little bit tighter for Amazon sellers.
oh yeah, Amazon's always gonna just keep squeezing as much profit as possible out of everything. That's just kind of how the world works. Okay, cool. What's number two?
So number two would be buying something that is right on the edge in terms of review score. That's a risky acquisition. If you're purchasing a product where all of the reviews are at a 4.3, just know that that can be very risky. I've seen it go wrong more than once, because sometimes sellers are doing sketchy stuff to kind of inflate and hold up that review score at the 4.3, which, for those of you who don't know, 4.3 stars shows up as 4.5 on the star display. And then once it goes down to 4.2, that moves to 4 stars out of 5 on how it displays. And that has a major effect on your conversion rate, your ranking, and your total sales. I've seen products lose half their revenue overnight because of that shift from 4.3 to 4.2. And so whenever you're in a position where you're looking to acquire a brand, make sure that you've done the due diligence on those reviews and look in the back end. You can use a tool or a plugin to see if any reviews have gotten scraped and pulled off the listing. If Amazon has flagged that before in the past, you can see those like drop offs when Amazon removes reviews. So that's something to keep a close eye on, because the last thing you want to have happen is you pay this multiple based on a inflated revenue, a revenue at 4.3 stars when that was kind of an artificial rating. And then once you buy it and the product drops down to a 4.2, because it's not a 4.3 product, it's naturally a 4.1, 4.2, based on customer
Mhm.
feedback, then you're overpaying, and that multiple essentially is going to take twice as long for you to recover.
Yeah. So I would say ideally the breadwinners are like 4.5 and above, and thousands of reviews, aka probably never gonna drop down to 4.2, which takes it from, in the shopper's mind, 4.5 stars to 4 stars. That's what happens when it goes from 4.3 to 4.2, which visually looks different and psychologically is different. Oh, this has 4.5 versus 4. And a lot of shoppers, that actually really means something. So, okay, cool. What about the number 3?
So number 3 is kind of an interesting one, and that would be to do your due diligence and what I call like a bin check. And this is saved. I know more than one account of where this has saved a nightmare acquisition, where if you're going to buy a brand, do your due diligence, buy the product yourself, right? More than once from every sales channel, um, multiple times, so that you can see if there's any sort of errors or some sort of odd thing in the packaging or in the customer experience. I had experienced this happen where uh, a client was looking to acquire this brand. They had bought some units to test out themselves, run some tests in their, in their office for the shelf life, battery life, etc. And when they had done that and they shipped it to the office, they realized that there were some major quality control issues with the product that would have caused nightmares had they acquired the brand. So that's just like a simple thing. Of course, you think to order it once, but order a good healthy amount of that product and do tests, kind of stress test it. All of those things to make sure it lives up to the standards that you would expect. And order competitor products too in that niche. If you're really serious about acquiring that brand, you want to know what you're stacked up against.
Yeah. What was the story you were saying about the brand owner that did that, and then they
So that
avoided a
was
huge mistake?
Yeah, that was in the kitchenware world, where they were looking to acquire this kitchenware line of products, and essentially there was an error from the manufacturer in the product where the motor was not properly running the piece, and so instead of recalling the product and then sending it back in or sending in proper units, they just put a replacement piece in with the broken piece, and they're like, "Hey." They put a note in there like, "Hey, this product is a defect. We added in the replacement piece for you. All you have to do is swap it out." But as you can imagine from a customer's experience, they're like, "You sent me a broken product and you're expecting me to do work and replace it? Come on, just send me like." So their return rate was really high. It was just not not something that you would want to get in bed with as an investor. It's like that's just one problem that you uncovered. Who knows how many other red flags you'll find as you actually start running the brand.
So to recap, that number 3, check the inventory yourself. Order a handful of units and make sure it's actually good, not a piece of shit. There's not recurring issues. And then number 1, to recap, is make sure the product actually has a differentiator and it's not just winning because it's the lowest price copycat private label product. Number 2 is make sure ideally the product's at like 4.5 and above with tons of reviews, and it's not potentially going to fall down to 4.2. And then, yeah, number 3 is check the inventory yourself. Any other stories or notes come to mind for this topic?
No, those are the biggest things to look out for. The the diligence checklist that we had developed was very, very extensive during those days at Thrasio of everything to look out for. But really, if it doesn't pass this check, then it's a no go, right? If it doesn't pass these 3 simple things, it's not worth it, considering. It's not worth the time. There's plenty of good opportunities out there of people looking to sell good brands. Um, yeah, so those are, if it didn't pass these flags, it doesn't go through the extensive diligence
Nice.
audit.
Diligence checklist, is that something that you still have? Or if people reach out, you can,
Yeah,
we can give out, or what do you think?
I do have one that I've built out. It's like one big sheet with everything that you kind of need to check for if you're thinking about acquiring a brand. Uh, so I can dig that one out of my Google Drive
Nice.
and make a.
All right. Well, details in the description on how to get your hands on that diligence checklist that we just thought of. But yeah, that makes sense. And cool. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and we'll try to potentially make a video about it, and or reach out to us. All right. See you in the next episode. Fucking bees all over.